Ahoy there folks, I'm Captain Benzie and welcome back to another video for Influence, the brand new space economic simulator MMO being produced by Unstoppable Games. Now in this little mini-series I've been going over how to get started in Influence, and I've been talking about my process as I've kind of got boots on the ground, set up my industry and got things up and running in this first phase as we move towards global launch. At the end of the last episode, I teased you that we'd be looking at a bioreactor and the factory today, and you'll see from the two new little symbols down here that those are both now built so that we can talk about them. So, without further ado, let's jump straight in. First of all then, the bioreactor. I'm going to tap into this and we're going to go down to the surface level and actually take a look at this building, because I do really like how this looks. I love this kind of triangular design with what appear to be all these hydroponics, these silos off to the side, and then of course we have the solar panels in the background. I do like the unique graphics that they've gone for Influence. Very real world science. Anyway, looking at the bioreactor in the bottom left, we have this manufacture organic goods button. Essentially, what a bioreactor allows you to do is to make biological reactions. Like, this is fairly self-explanatory, right? But we're going to need materials, which I've now sent through so that we can actually showcase this in action. Hopefully, I do have an in progress going on here, but the crew is currently showed as ready, so they should be okay. So if we open up the bioreaction page here, manufacturing organics, first of all, we have to select a process. On the left-hand side, we have our inputs here of what materials we are going to need in order to actually do the thing. And then on the right is what it creates, alongside a process name that in some cases is pretty interesting. It's all based on real-world science again. Sometimes it gives you information about what this actually is. In other cases, it's not quite as obvious. Like Novoloc algae growing, kind of, you get that Novoloc prepolymer resin is going to be your thing because it's Novolac. BPA algae growing, again, we get bisphenol A, so that's your BPA, bisphenol A. Again, kind of useful if you have any form of history in bioengineering and things like that, but hey, ultimately, what we're going to have a look at now is we're going to start with the BPA algae growing, or algae, depending on how you want to pronounce that. I have some carbon dioxide, I have some deionized water. I've been extracting the deionized water myself. I've been actually extracting water myself, then putting it through my, I can't remember the word now, reprocessing. I've been reprocessing that into deionized water and salts, which are really cool. So I've bought some carbon dioxide. Obviously, you can extract your own carbon dioxide from a planet's surface with your extractors, but because I don't have those doing that at the moment, I've just purchased some off the market in order to showcase this. So, this will then tell us what we're going to need: carbon dioxide and deionized water. These should both be available in my repository nearby. And by ticking on that, you can see, yep, we've got this now gone blue that says, yes, we can do the thing. This is then going to produce that bisphenol A, and it's going to make 400 kilograms of it per 1.15 tons of carbon dioxide and 250 kilograms of deionized water. Finally, I need to select an output for it. This is going to go into repository A1001A, and then we have our slider. Now this slider, you can see as we drag this up, it can go all the way up to 25 days, 6 hours. It's a long processing time. That's going to give us 30.4 tons of bisphenol A at the cost of 87.4 tons of carbon dioxide and 19 tons of deionized water. If we have a look down in the details here, you'll see that some of these can be affected by, for example, having your crew nearby, or some of the other skills that your crews can have, like scientist on crew. ×2. I don't have a scientist on this particular crew, I don't think, which is why that is going to run slowly. So what we might do is have a look. Is that a scientist on the crew? No, this is the crew that doesn't have a scientist. If I therefore swap to one of my crews that does have a scientist on board, for example, my refinery crew Epsilon, we've got the scientist here in the middle, let's swap to them. And then we'll do the same process. We're looking at the bisphenol A. Okay. We are bringing the things in from repository A1002, and we are outputting to repository A1001. There we are. At this point, much faster, 12 days for the maximum output of 30.4 tons. That's still a bit long. I don't want to do quite that much in one go. I'm happy at this point to do about a day of processing. So if we get that there and then hit round, that's going to take us 24 hours, 57 minutes, 30 seconds. It's close enough to a day of going. And you've got all the details here. Again, now that we've got the scientist on board, that makes things a little bit easier. The crew are right here in the habitat next to this building, so there's very little travel time. Again, that's one of the advantages of having a habitat. We're then just going to hit begin. It's really that simple. Now, over the next 24 hours, I'm going to be turning 6.9 tons of carbon dioxide, plus however much water that was, into however much bisphenol A that was. So we now have that up and running. It's going to take a little bit of time to process. You can see there, algae growing. So now we're going to have a little bit of time, 4 hours, 56 minutes of the crew actively working, getting that all set up. Then the remaining sort of 20 hours is going to be that crew doing, well, the actual, letting it run on its own. So what I'm going to do afterwards is just these guys are getting a little bit close to the 50% mark on food. So I'm going to set up another action for them. I know it's going to count as resting for the time being. I forget you can't actually queue up food just yet, so I'm going to have to keep an eye on that. But there we are. That is how a bioreactor works, and in 24 hours time, in a day's time, I'm going to have a load of bisphenol A sitting in my warehouse, ready for me to sell or work with in future. So now, if we come across to the factory, and this point around, I'm going to swap crew. There we go. We're going to have a look at the factory. Again, some really interesting graphics here. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I really like the realness of the buildings in Influence. Like, they've not gone for out there sci-fi. They've gone for these very typically recognizable buildings. You've got solar panels, you've got silos, you've got the little shuttle ships going around, you've got all of the infrastructure that makes it look very human and real world. I mean, it's not obvious that that's necessarily a factory, but it's clearly human and it's recognizable as a building to us. And it's got all the bits and pieces there, and I love just zooming in and having a look at all these details. Maybe that's just me, but let's have a look at the manufacturing process and what kind of stuff we can make. What kind of stuff do I have? Do I have the ability to actually make anything here? So this is how we turn things like steel into steel beams and steel pipes. You can see on the right-hand side here, like ball valves, aluminium beams. It'll be further down here. Cement mixing. Cement is always going to be a... Where's it gone there? Cement mixing is always going to be a fairly useful one. Lots of people want cement. That is deionized water, which I've got a load of, and quicklime. I've got no quicklime, but I can either try and extract some of that myself, or I can buy a load of quicklime on the market and turn it into cement, and then sell it back on the market, right? That's something I need to do a video on as well. Aluminium, we don't have... We've got all of these different processes here of different things you can extract, refine, and then turn into goods. So on the right here, steel sheets comes from steel. How do we make steel? Or is steel something we extract? Let's have a look. Can't see it on the right-hand side. Oh, but there we are. There's another really useful one to know. Core drills. How do you make core drills? You make them with core drill bits, core drill thrusters, and pure nitrogen. So we're going to need to have those bits. Core drill bit milling. Make the core drill bits is from steel pipes. So you're going to need to make steel. Then you're going to need to make steel pipes, then steel bits. And there's a lot goes into this kind of thing, right? There's a lot that goes into actually making anything in Influence. All of the different stages are very much spread out, which gives players incentive to work together. Because if you want to make one core drill bit, that's a lot. That's turning steel into core drill bits and core drill thrusters, and then then assembling that into the core drills themselves. So you might not want to be doing every step of that yourself. You might want to be working with some friends in order to get that up and running, and knowing how to buy things from other people and then how to sell it at a profit. Very, very useful. And we will do a video on marketeering when I eventually get around to it. As it happens, though, I don't think I'm going to be able to showcase this directly. What I may do, though, is try and make some cement, since I've got a load of things like water and deionized water. It's just the quicklime, and I don't see a way to instantly make quicklime. So that is probably something that we do directly extract. Again, there are external resources for Influence on here, but the process here is going to be very much the same as we've just seen with the bioreactor. You select what you want to do, you select where your resources are coming from, you select where your output is going to, and then you choose how long it's going to run for. And looking at the abilities here, again, it's engineers that are going to speed that up for you. So if you're into manufacturing, you want engineers. If you're into bioreactions, you want scientists. That should give you an idea. But let's just have a look. Let's come out and have a look on the market for quicklime. There we are. Okay, yeah, that's fairly cheap. I could buy a whole ton of that and then have that sent over in order to showcase that. So let's buy, let's say, 100,000 tons there. It's costing me almost nothing. That's tiny amounts. Tiny amounts. Have that sent to my repository. It's going to take an hour and 16 minutes. You know what? I will actually come back in a moment and showcase that once it arrives, just so we can get set up making some cement. There we go, an hour has passed. I now have the stuff, so hopefully we can go into the manufacturing process. And here we are, cement mixing. In fact, let's do it with the one that uses standard water rather than the deionized, because that will save me having to reprocess quite as much. There we go. Is there a difference, actually? Cement 1 compared to up here. Also cement 1. Cool. No, yep, good. So we don't need to reprocess the water. So repository. There we go. Oh, I actually don't have the water. Interesting to note. Cool. Okay, so we're just going to go with standard cement mixing, because there we are. Yeah, I've got a load of that. And we're going to drop that back into repository A1002A. Let's make a load of... Oh, that's really fast. That's really fast. Okay. And that again is improved by engineering. So screw it. Yeah, we're just going to go max on the cement mixing, turning some deionized water and quicklime into cement. Not particularly much with the limited resources I have, which is probably why that's so short. But there we are. We're now making cement, which means with that process underway, we can actually use that for building our own buildings. And that is one of the things that obviously you can do with Influence. Extract your own resources, reprocess them, manufacture them, and use them to build more things. Or you can just stop at the extracting, sell that kind of stuff on the market, or you can stop at the reprocessing, take the extracted goods, reprocess them, then sell that on the market. There is so much opportunity here. You just need to find your niche, find what you think you want to sell, and work from there. So I was a little bit sort of at first with the fact that all of these like extractors that I was running on are primarily based on water. Like water is the largest extraction that I have going on all these sites. About 90% of all of these dig sites are straight up water. But I've now found that water is used in making cement. There we are, there's a load more water. So that's fantastic. If I can find a way to get quicklime, then I'm all set for cement production, and then I can start making a load of cement and selling that on the market. And now I know I don't even need to reprocess the water into the deionized water. I can just go straight in with water and quicklime. I just need to find quicklime, and I can start making my own cement and selling it. That's really cool. Nice and easy, very straightforward, very happy about that. Anyway, folks, that's all for today. I've got a lot more building and things to do. Next time, hopefully, we'll find a way to sell some of this stuff on the market, and I can talk about how all that works as well. Oh, I also need to finally make sure that I actually move this crew down from Wallenbergia and base them here. So let's do that quickly. Our crew is busy, so I'll have to do that one later on. Awesome. There we are, folks. Hope you've enjoyed this one. Let me know how you get on with all of this. Happy sailing, and see you in Adalia.